Okay, Chelsea, are we recording? Alright, Chelsea. Today, I had to use the bathroom while I was at headquarters, like headquarters all over life headquarters. And here's what happens. I walked to Kyle, I'm like, Kyle, can I use the bathroom? He's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, well, where? And he's like, inside headquarters. And I'm like, whoa, most godly place on earth. So I'm like walking in there. I open up the door. I realize I forgot to ask where the bathroom was. So I'm sitting there just for like a minute wondering where the heck I'm going. All of a sudden the Holy Spirit jumps out of me and is like, let me guide you. So he guides me. So he guides me to this ram, and this ram, he's like, follow the ram. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm following this ram around headquarters till it leads me to what I could consider to be a men's bathroom. And then the ram's like, meh, runs up some hill. And I look over and it's up the stairs, and you know, some guy's ready to sacrifice his son, and I'm like, oh my gosh! Then some angel pops up and the ram's there, so he sacrifices the ram just in the nick of time. I was like, whew, that's a safe one. So, then I run in to the bathroom because I'm really freaked out. Trying to use the bathroom, all of a sudden the urinal lights on fire and is like, Max, take off your feet, shoes, things. Because where you walk is holy ground. So I take off my shoes and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then it tells me something about how I have to deliver all the people on the island, whatever. So then, all the lights start flickering and all the toilets start flushing, and I was like, it sounds like a storm in here. Well, all of a sudden these three angry pirate-looking dudes throw this Jonah guy into the toilet and he's stuck there. So I go over and I'm trying to help him out. And then Moses walks in, he's trying to part the waters, get Jonah out of the toilet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So then, he can't do anything anyway because Aaron is not there with him, and we all know he's the one who did all the miracles anyway. So, finally, the urinal spits out Jonah, and he's just sitting there trying to do whatever. So I walk out and I'm like, Moses, do you know how to get out of here? He's like, yeah. So we walk around for what feels like 40 years, and then we finally get to the water fountain. I'm like, I need a drink. So I get a drink of water, I go over there, and Moses is like, wait a minute, dude, I got this. So he picks up his giant staff and smacks the water machine, and it starts spewing water everywhere. And I'm just trying to take a drink, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, now the water fountain's flowing water down the freaking hallway. So now, there goes Noah and all his sons, and then every animal, 2 by 2, every clean animal, 7 by 7. And then Adam walks up, and he's trying to name every single one so fast that he spits up a rib. So now he's walking out, because he needs to take a breather. And then, you know, Jesus comes around the corner, he's yelling at Peter. Peter's like, what? Jesus is like, we have a meeting. He's like, oh my gosh, suddenly realizes there's a river running across the floor. He comes in, tries to cross the river, but he realizes that he can't walk on water, so Jesus starts walking on water over to go help him. And then Peter's like, alright, so he kind of gets up the faith to try and walk on the water. Well, then he loses his faith and he starts falling. Jesus grabs him and they go to the meeting, thankfully. So I'm like, Moses, can you get me out of here? So we walk around for like another 40 years, and then, finally, some guy named Joshua comes along and is like, okay, well, some reason Moses just dies back there. I was like, whatever. So he's leading me out. And then, Kyle's a tall guy. So when we walk out, Joshua's like, whoa, that's a giant. So he runs back inside. I walk out there, and I see Kyle's like, we need to finish weeding. I look over, I'm on the stairs, and I see Eve there, and I'm like, you better watch what fruit you're eating. And then she looks at me and goes, is that a bad joke? And I was like, ugh. So to avoid the embarrassment, I just went out and finished weeding the garden, and then me and Kyle drove back to the inn. Lesson to today learned, when you have to pee at headquarters, keep calm and hold it in.